Your Business Podcast with Frank Furness.
Well, hi everybody and welcome to Sales School, and this is Frank Furness, where we're going to help you make more money by mastering sales, dominating marketing, and really being happy. In our next episodes, we're going to be taking a look at the psychology of sales, and I'm going to be joined by my really good friend Ian Halsall, where we speak about Neuro-Linguistic Programming. You know, one of the other things that has happened in sales lately is everybody now belongs to networking groups. There are so many networking groups, and look, it's true, you can get a lot of business by going to these networking groups. But I go to places like the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of other networking groups, and what do I see? 5 people from the same company coming along. They've just spent a fortune on a lunch. They sit together speaking to each other and they leave. What a waste of time. I see other people coming along and they don't even bring business cards. They've come to a networking meeting. They don't bring business cards. They don't know how to handle networking. I want to speak about that right now because there's so much opportunity if you know how to network properly. I mean, some of the things that I found out about networking is if I'm going to a networking meeting, I'll actually phone the organizers up front and say, would you mind sending me a list of the people attending? Guess what? 90% of the time they'll do that. I can then look through the list, see the people that I really want to meet with at that meeting, and then be totally focused. Instead of trying to meet 100 people, they walk away with 100 business cards where I haven't developed rapport with anybody. I can have 6 focused networking meetings. Now, Ian, you've just written this fantastic book called NLP for Networking. Tell us a little bit about your book and how NLP can help us in networking.
Well, thank you for the kind mention on my book, Frank. The most important thing is that NLP can help with, a bit like sales, every aspect of networking. Everybody that you network with will have a brain, so there's the N. Everybody you network with will use language, and you use language on them, so there's the L. And everyone runs through programs, and so there's the P. And so there's networking, has NLP in it all the time. How do you use NLP to be a better networker? Well, first of all, it's probably useful for me to talk about different types of networking. Frank, you talked about networking groups where you meet face-to-face, and there are many of these. I've set up loads of them. I set up 8 groups in the UK. I set up another 8 groups in Kuala Lumpur. I've given talks on networking in America, Singapore, and there's definitely a big, big demand for networking groups. There are 2 types of networking groups which are face-to-face. There are strong contact and there is soft contact, or some people call it casual. Strong contact is there's one person per profession, there's quite strict rules, and you're there for business. And it's very, very upfront and in your face. And those are the ones that I mostly ended up running. And I like them. There's a big payoff. People are serious. You tend to make more money out of them. There's also a big price. They have a high commitment. But the biggest thing of all is that they have a very high efficiency. If you're going to spend a few hours in them, chances are you're going to get something very, very good.
Which would be some of those groups? Could you maybe name some of those groups?
Yeah, the biggest in the world was the one I was involved in for many years. That was Business Network International, BNI. So you just go to bni.com and there's chapters in most countries of the world. In Malaysia, I'm not quite sure which ones are still running at the moment, but there's BNI there as well.
There's a lot of internet ones. There's eAcademy, there's Rise.
eAcademy's good.
There's Spoke, there's LinkedIn. I mean, if you just type it in to your search engine, you're going to come up with so many different ideas.
And that's another type of networking altogether, where you're networking over the internet. So you might not even meet the person face to face. There might be a great source of business, great source of contacts, great source of referrals and orders, but you might never know the person other than the emails that you read on the computer screen. Depending on what you want to do, there's networking opportunities everywhere. For example, I managed to make friends with a TV producer in Malaysia who was just standing behind me in the supermarket. And I just broke the ice. And one of the things I talk about in both of my books, there's another book, How You Can Build a Profitable Network, which talks about ice-breaking techniques. And here's the thing, and it's just like you said, Frank, most people don't network very well at all, which is a tragedy, because when I give talks on networking, I say, think of anything you want for a second. Just think of anything that you want in life. Money, car, relationship, health, fun, skills, anything. Well, there's 2 ways to get that thing. The slow way and the quick way. The slow way, do it all on your own. Go it alone. The quick way is to enlist the help of other people. And successful people in any walk of life, but I guess we're talking mostly business on this program, successful people know how to use the time and the energy and the brains and the knowledge and the contacts of other people. If you can enlist the help of other people, you will achieve your goals in much less time. And in sales, since this is an NLP for sales program, it's absolutely vital that you enlist the help of other people to get you referrals, to get you recommendations, to do your PR, to have other people helping you. So, where do you start? Well, a little bit like how we started with this program. Networking starts not with a pile of business cards, not with going along to your local group, whether it's Chamber of Commerce or Toastmasters or your sports club or your golf club, giving out name cards right, left and centre. Although I guess that can work sometime. It's not very efficient and it's not always that good for your reputation. It starts with you sitting on your own, getting a piece of paper and writing out what it is you want to accomplish. The most underused word in developing networking skills is planning. Like you said earlier, Frank, before you go to a networking event, say who's going to be there. Think about what you want to achieve and how you're going to present yourself. That's what I'll come on to now. If somebody said to me, Ian, what do you do? Well, I've got two businesses. I've got my NLP business and I still have my engineering business in the UK. My NLP business, I use the formula, the 6-12 rule. That means that you can explain, if somebody says, what do? You can say in 6 words, give or take, what you do. And then they'll say, hopefully, oh, that's interesting. How do you do that? If you have a provocative 6 words, and then you have a 12-word expanded version. So with NLP, somebody would say, so what do you do? I'd say, I make successful people more successful. Which leads into them saying, oh, really? How do you do that? And then I'd go to my 12-word. Well, I use something developed in America called NLP, which enables people to be more persuasive or sell more. And then that leads on to something else. Same goes with my engineering business. People say, what do you do? I do non-stick coatings to make companies run more efficiently. Oh, really? How do you do that? Well, we take pieces of equipment, we coat them so they become self-cleaning or at least partially self-cleaning. And we do things in the pet food industry, the paper industry, all these kind of things. So when you're at a networking event, you actually have something to say. The next thing is ice breaking. Well, NLP is perfect for ice breaking. Oh, and by the way, I am still amazed as to how many people are terrible at networking, and the few that even do some networking are terrible at ice breaking. If you are at a networking event, and like yourself, Frank, I've lost count of the number of times I've been sat at a table at a networking event, and there's 5 or 6 people all from the same company, and I'm saying, well, what are you doing? This is crazy. You should be out there splitting up, talking to people. You already know each other. So now we're coming on to something else in NLP, which is beliefs. This is slightly outside of the scope of this program, but I want to just touch on it briefly. NLP is very powerful for changing beliefs, because if you're not a good networker, my first question is, what beliefs do you have about the subject of networking that enables you to not be a great networker? Because networking isn't hard. I know people who are not that good looking, not that intelligent, who are very, very effective at networking.
Would sometimes it be a belief system that I don't like meeting strangers? I'm not good at meeting new people?
It could be that. It could be strangers don't want to meet me. Oh, and by the way, this isn't a program on being a great trainer or a great presenter, but one of the biggest things you can do to be a better trainer, if you're selling and you have to give a talk to a bunch of people, is what beliefs do you have about what they're thinking? And often audiences are 10 times kinder than speakers think they are. And the same applies to going to a networking group. A very, very powerful belief is they're just a bunch of folks and they probably do want to meet me. Or at least chit-chat to me. And just walk up to them.
Because they've come there for the same reason as you, to meet other people and network.
Hey, it's a networking event. There's a clue in the title. But the number of times, I've lost count now, the number of times I've gone to Chamber of Commerce events or political meetings, charity meetings, you name it, and people just stand around. I mean, we're talking about guys who are in their 40s, in their 50s, 60s, who have got big houses, big salaries, big job titles, big cars, and they just, I don't want to talk to people because I'm shy. It's quite the most amazing thing.
Yeah, now if we think about some of the things you've just been speaking about, developing rapport, if I go to a networking meeting, so the first thing I'm going to take into account is maybe body language. If I see 2 people in serious conversation and they're facing each other, their body language is saying to me, don't approach me. Yeah. I'm having a serious conversation. Yeah. But if their body language is open and they're standing almost in an open V, that would be an invitation for me to go in.
Yeah.
The developing rapport, I might go in and say, do you mind if I join you? Because that's nice and polite.
Yes.
And then, hi, my name's Frank, so I'm introducing myself by my first name. What are they going to say? Hi, I'm Ian. I'm Mary. Yeah. And then speaking to them about themselves and what's interesting to them. Would that be maybe some of the things we should do in networking?
Absolutely right. In fact, I feel slightly embarrassed at this stage in the program to have to say these kind of things because they're so obvious, they're basic, they're polite, and yet I see fully grown-up people getting this wrong time and time again. Roughly what happens is if there's a networking event, people's behavior flips to one of two extremes. Either they flip to the extreme of not talking to anybody, or they get glued with super glue to the first person they walked in with. And that's okay if it's a social thing, but if it's a networking thing, if it's Chamber of Commerce, if it's BNI, you are there to network. So it just doesn't make sense. And people's expectations are that it's okay to move around. The other extreme, and I've seen this many times, and it's quite comical when it happens, is I'll be in the middle of a conversation with someone, and someone just muscles straight in like a bulldozer, you know. Hello, my name's Phil. There you go. There's my name card. Can I have your name card? And it's really talk about mismatching and killing rapport, and the impression you make in the first 20 seconds. So the business of the practicalities of networking are very straightforward. So just for completeness, I'll run through them now. Have your business card, name card handy. Not because people are often going to do very much with it, but it's a nice piece of protocol. You know, that's me, that's who I am.
Ian, what about in different cultures? Because I know when I first started working in Hong Kong, I made the biggest mistake by just taking the cards, putting them straight into my pocket and not even looking at them.
Yeah, now we're back to matching again. If somebody, think about it, when you got your name cards made up with your name, your company logo, how much time did you spend looking at that card?
Oh, I was so proud when I got that out. Yeah. I wanted everyone to look at it.
Exactly. So, and even people who are in corporate jobs and somebody else designs the card for them, it's a big deal. It makes you feel some kind of pride, some kind of sense of achievement, you know, and you've got your little letters after your name or whatever, and it's a nice feeling. And somebody just takes a half a second glance at that, then it's mismatching. And by the way, you don't need NLP for this. This is basic politeness, you know. If someone's gone to the trouble of holding a card, you take a good look at it. And I'll often hold a card for the duration of the meeting. And if it's a sit down and I've got, say, 7 or 8 name cards from a big meeting, I'll often have all of those cards in front of me. And that's a little bit of unconscious matching. Chances are people aren't consciously thinking about it. Chances are their head is full consciously with what's going on in the meeting. So yes, handling name cards. Since you and I both do work in America, Europe and Asia, there are cultural differences. The one thing that I've got to talk about that's really important is the process of writing on a name card. If I can give you one tip with the design of your name card, and I talk a lot in my books about the details of name cards, my one tip is it's not just a name card, it's a notepad. If somebody takes my name card, I want it to be something they can write on. Yep. Thank you. I'm just looking at Frank's now. We met at such and such. Is there white space and can you write on it? Because if I give my name card to somebody, I want them to go, I met Ian. Ian is looking for a contact at XYZ Corporation. Call Ian regarding this. I'm feeling very comfortable because they're now saying, they're giving me the clue that they might follow up after the meeting. Personally, I love it when people write on my name cards. In Asia, it can be a little bit delicate. I've done a bit of research, and I would say a small percentage, maybe 10%, maybe 15% of people would be offended if you wrote on their name card. So it's always a good idea to ask. And by the way, they'll always say yes if you ask, because the conversation goes something like this. I say, hi, my name's Ian. They say, my name's Mr. Wong. Okay, Mr. Wong, so why are you here? What kind of referral are you looking for? What kind of contact would you like to make? And he says, I'm looking for somebody in ABC company. And I go, I know somebody at ABC. Let me just make a note. Oh, by the way, before I write, would it be okay if I wrote on your name card? What's he going to say? He's going to say, gee, if I'm going to get a contact out of it, you can have a name card. In fact, you can have a whole bunch.
Great. And speaking about that now, on name cards, what about putting photographs onto that and maybe putting some other benefits onto a name card, onto your business card, the sort of what's in it for them?
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what the objective of a name card is. Strangely enough, very few people think about this. Why does that name card exist? And what's the most important information on it? Well, it's part of your image. So if somebody says, okay, that looks nice, or that looks trendy, My pet hates, by the way, I'll get these out of the way quickly, is plastic name cards because you can't write on them. They look kind of a little bit trendy, so you've got to have, in my opinion, a very good reason to use something as unconventional as that. And also, if it's black or blue, that you hand it to the person you met, they can't make notes about you on the name card. The most important things on a name card in priority order are, number one, your name. It's got to be clear, easy to read. Trust me on this one. Some networking events have people of advanced age and variable reading skills, so nice, big, bold letters so they can see easily. You do not want them to spend the first 30 seconds of forming an opinion of you with them squinting. And a lot of networking events, by the way, the lighting isn't that brilliant. It's a cocktail event in the evening, and you don't want them like scrunching their eyes up and trying to read what your name is. Second after your name is your phone number. Is your phone number easy to find? I've seen name cards where people have had their fax number first and their phone number second, so people are phoning in on their fax number. And that's so name and phone number, whichever it is, your mobile or your landline, whichever you prefer, have got to be very, very prominent. Photographs. I don't have a strong opinion on photographs. There's pros and cons with photographs. The pro is that you are easier to remember. The second, the con is, well, is it the kind of image you want to portray? For example, my year out of my degree of my engineering degree, I worked for the Shell oil company at Shell head office, and Shell business cards never had photographs. They just had the little discreet Shell logo, and it was very understated. And it looked very impressive because it was clean, it was neat, and understatement can sometimes go a long way. If you go for photographs, you're going in the opposite direction of understatement. So you're showing me one of yours now, Frank, that does have a photo. It's got the big plus of being memorable. So I personally don't have a strong opinion. I leave that very much to what kind of selling you are and what kind of product you have.
I suppose it's also about the branding of you and the company.
Absolutely right. You, well, in the business that you and I are in, Frank, we are the brand.
Right.
Yeah. So building that brand. I personally, I don't use photos on my name cards, but I use my same Lloyd West. Oh, sorry, I haven't given my website yet. LloydWest.com. And by the way, there's a lot of NLP in that. Just the choice of the name and also the logo.
Is that double L?
Yeah. Double LLOYDWEST, one word.com. And or Lloyd West and LloydWestAsia.com. So, thank you for that. And that's really, really important, is that the name card is part of your branding. The font, the amount of white space, the colour and the logo are all critical. It says something about you, because after the networking event, people are going to be going through 20 or 30 name cards. What is it about your name card that will make them go, oh, number one, I remember him or her. Number two, I want to help them. Now, I've got to say something really important here. Since most people are very bad at networking, most networking events are very inefficient. Often I'll come away from a networking event with 30 or 40 name cards, and the only reason I've got 30 or 40 name cards is because I don't want to offend all these people who are throwing name cards at me. Name cards are very useful. But by the way, if you don't have a name card, you can still be an effective networker. I've got some very good business deals from just the fact that I had a pencil and paper on me, and I've said, hey, that sounds like I could help you. By the way, do you have a name card? And they often don't. Say, no problem. I've got a pencil and paper. What number do I call you on?
So there's another clue. If you're going to these networking meetings, you've got to take a pencil or a pen and paper.
There's another advantage as well. Pencils and paper can be really useful, because I often ask for people a good ice-breaking tip, since we're on to practicalities again. A good ice-breaking tip is, can I borrow a pen? Just go up to someone you want to talk to and say, excuse me, can I borrow a pen? Now, I might have one in my pocket, but it's a nice way of breaking the ice. You know, I didn't say I didn't have one, so it's being very honest. The other stuff is, another nice icebreaker is asking somebody to introduce you. This is really important. In Malaysia, I've got a contact who I know is very, very friendly with the senior boss of BP, the oil company. I don't want to go up to him and say, hi, my name's Ian, because I know that I know someone who knows us both. So at the next networking event, I'm going to say, excuse me, would you mind introducing me?
And aren't they going to do a great sales job on you?
Yeah, it happens to be an existing client of mine. So, and by the way, it's okay. This is behavioural flexibility yet again. Another behaviour is waiting. A lot of salespeople aren't good at waiting. Remember, how many chances do you have to make a great first impression? Yeah, Exactly.
One chance, that's it.
Just one shot. And by the way, once that's happened, so if I'm in a networking event, I feel there's somebody who would be good to introduce me, I will wait. And if it doesn't happen that evening, I'll go along in a fortnight and I'll wait again. Because for people like you and me, Frank, a good deal with a great customer, it's worth waiting for. And so an introduction can be really, really useful.
Now, so we've met this person there. What do we speak about? What is some of the small talk that we would speak about? Because one of the secrets that I've found is get someone to speak about themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time we go in there, me, I'm fantastic. And they say, I don't care who you are. I just want to find out how you can help me in my business.
Couldn't agree more strongly. I don't recommend many books, and since this is an NLP training program, I'm actually going to recommend a non-NLP book. I'm sure you've read it, Frank, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and even if you've read it, read it again, because the golden rule with breaking ice is people don't want to hear about you, they want to have a nice evening in a chat, and a nice evening in a chat means, who are you? They want to be listened to, they want to be, to use the therapeutic language, they want to be stroked. So, and what do you say? Frankly, this is very, very basic, and it always works. I just go up to someone, and I just hold up my hand, and I just say, hello. That's all it is. And by the way, it's often good to introduce yourself before you ask the questions about the other person. It doesn't always sound good to say, hello, so what do you do? Or who are you and what do you do? I start off by saying, oh, hi, I'm Ian, how are you doing? And then often a nice icebreaker is to make some relevant comment. If you want the NLP term, it's called pacing current experience. I say, so have you come far this evening, or is this your first event? If not, what do you think of them?
Would we know that as small talk?
Yeah, just a little bit of chit-chatting, just to, because people, this is really important, and I see people making this mistake in networking events day in and day out. Trust me on this. People don't want to meet a bulldozer. They don't want to meet someone who said, there's my name card, I do whatever, web design, so do you have a web designer? I mean, people are doing this in the first 20 seconds. And so in that first little golden opportunity to make a nice, positive, friendly, amiable sort of impression, people are kind of having this stuff banged over their head with a large hammer. And then they wonder why people aren't phoning them the next morning.
Let's speak about the ritual now of the business card, because the Americans often call it the elevator speech. And really what that means is if you had to meet somebody in an elevator at the ground floor, you're going up to the 20th floor. By the time you've got to the 20th floor, you have to tell them who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Yeah. But most of the time, I see people coming in with business cards, and this is what they'll say. Hi, I'm Frank Furness. I'm wonderful. I do this. I'm great. And they are just thinking, I don't care who you are. So a little thing that you can do to change and make yourself more effective is think about what's in it for them. So now it would rather be, hi, I'm Frank Furness. I'm a speaker and a trainer. The next part of the elevator speech is what's in it for them. I help people to find more prospects, ask better questions, close more sales. This is what they're listening. That's what's in it for them. And then I always add at the end, so that they can go out and make more sales, have more fun, play more golf, and enjoy life a lot more.
Let me illustrate that with a point. Talk to me for a moment, Frank. Okay. We've just met at a networking event, and I say to you, hi, my name is Bill. I sell life insurance. Can you think of anybody you could refer to me for a life insurance policy that they might be buying in the next year?
Or can't think of anyone right off the cuff.
So how do you feel if I go in like that?
Bull in a china shop.
Exactly. You've met the bulldozer. You see, there are so many people in selling. They've got this mantra that says, hey, if in doubt, ask. It does no harm to ask. Well, I say, well, if it does no harm, sure, ask. But if you've just met somebody and you come at them like that, trust me on this, you are doing harm by asking.
This is when you go to a party and everyone runs to the other side of the room when they see you.
Now, let me just give you a retry of that. So I say, hi, my name's Bill. So your name is?
Frank.
So Frank, so what is it you're looking to get from this? And you might give me a...
I want to try and meet somebody that can... I'm putting on a new... conservatory at home. I'd like to find somebody that could help me with that.
So somebody, I know a guy who's a builder. Would that be of any use to you?
Oh, that would be great.
Right, so, okay, well, I'll call you. Okay, so now I've done you a little favour. You know, now maybe it's going to work out, maybe not. Maybe the guy will be brilliant. But the thing is, I've gone to the effort. I've actually, if you read the Stephen Covey 7 Habits stuff, I've made a deposit in your emotional account. I just by the act of asking, you know, what are you here for? And offering maybe I could help. Then all of a sudden, I've set into motion a little process which psychologists call reciprocation.
Absolutely.
Or reciprocity. So I've done a little something for you. And then now what's going to happen is not everybody, but a lot of people will be responding to that phrase by saying, yeah, okay, so Ian, what is it you do? And I'll say, well, I do this. And say, okay. And then they're looking to do something back. So when I go to a networking event, the thing that's on my mind is, how can I make deposits with people so that they will be motivated to reciprocate to me in return? And if I say, and by the way, these are all genuine. If somebody really wants a contact and I'm really helping them, I'll only do it if I believe I can. And by the way, once you get networking and you know a few hundred people, it's very easy to know people who might be able to help. And then you just let the person say, okay, maybe it'll be helpful, maybe not, but you've made the effort of trying to help them.
Because really, networking is not selling. Networking is all about developing trust and relationships.
The biggest mistake you can make in networking is to confuse networking with selling, and most people do. You are not selling to your network. You are not selling to the guy. And when I do networking trainings, I do this as a role play. I get somebody to say, hi, my name's Ian. There's my name card. Do you know anyone who wants NLP training? Right? That's selling. You've just met the guy. You don't even know if he's got the remotest interest in your product. But a lot of salespeople, frankly, a lot of the low-grade salespeople will say, hey, I'm just going to ask, because you never know. You keep asking enough people. Yeah, okay, maybe a few years ago that approach might have worked, but people are so much more sensitive these days. So you say, okay, this is what I do. And you do something to, firstly, you're not selling to them. You're asking who they know. Typically, when research has been done on this, your average person in business knows 1,000 to 3,000 people. Some of them very well, some of them on hello, some of them, just the guy in the petrol station that you might just be on nodding and, how are you doing terms, but a lot of people. So if it's a networking event and there are 30 people in the room and you try to sell, well, number one, what would you prefer? The 30 people in the room or the 30 times 3,000 people that they know?
Absolutely.
Right? So you're talking, would you rather sell to 30 prospects or would you rather sell to 90,000 prospects? 90,000 is a bigger number than 30. So firstly, the numbers are in your favour. Secondly, which is easier? Hello, Mr. Person I've just met at the event. Would you like to buy an insurance policy off me? Imagine the reaction you get. But if you say, would you like to... do you know 10 people who may buy an insurance policy off me? Straight away, you've done two things. You've increased your number of possibilities from 1 to 10, but more importantly, emotionally, you've not given them a fist between the eyes, so to speak, by being too direct.
Because they say, sometimes people light up a room when they come into it, but certain bulldozers light up the room when they leave it.
Yeah, and you'll find people leaving early and looking at their wristwatches and go, oh my goodness, I just remembered the babysitter's knocking off. Yeah, so you've got to remember that if you are too direct and and also if you're looking at the network as your prospects, you're going to be very ineffective. Your network, or the people you bump into, a good way to think of them in your mind is they are not your prospects, they are your sales force. They're going to help you get your message, information about your product, and your PR out to a much wider audience. And by the way, they're much more likely to do that if they don't perceive you as a pushy, aggressive bulldozer, but they will do it. Number one, if they like you, the rapport and the state is there. And more importantly, if they feel there's something in it for them, so you're motivating them. Very, very important. The other thing is understanding how you're going to ask for the referral. If I'm a life insurance salesman, I could say to the person, do you know 10 people who might want life insurance? Chances are they're going to try to get rid of you. Now, if the rapport's there, they feel good about you, they might make an effort. But frankly, the odds are not very good. But if you say something specific, like, do you know any teachers that are 50 years old or older? That's easy to say yes to. They might say, yeah, one of my neighbours is one. Why? So, because we got a fabulous product for somebody who's on that kind of income bracket.
Or if you're selling software, you might say, do you know any companies that would like to improve their efficiency with this software system.
It's a networking tip that's made millions from my students. What most people do is the opposite. They think, I've got to keep it broad and general. I do web design. What kind of web design? All kinds of web design. For what kind of customers? All kinds of customers. It's very hard for the person you're meeting at the networking evening to help you, because you're asking them to do all your thinking for you. But paradoxically, it's a little bit counterintuitive. But the more you narrow down your field, the more likely you are to catch something. Because if you say to somebody, I'm looking for a medium-sized engineering company with, say, 0 to 12 people who've been in business, say, 5 years or so, within, say, an 80-mile radius of here, then straight away they've got something. And here's the thing. We're back to the conscious and the unconscious. Unconsciously, the networking person you've met, or the person you just met at the networking event, unconsciously they're thinking, there's got to be a reason why he's asking these specific questions. And so the more specific you are when you're at your network event, the more likely you are to get a great referral.
I mean, the whole thing that's coming through here, Ian, is you're asking them about their needs, their wants, instead of, here's me, this is what I've got for you, buy my product.
Yeah, and it's more than that too. You're actually having a conversation about what's going on. You're asking them about their business, you're telling them about your business, and it's all in a very indirect way. And this is something a lot of salespeople don't get, because a lot of salespeople, they blow it because they're too direct, which sometimes you can blow it in a sale if you're too direct and saying, hey, buy this now. If your timing is off, you might get a negative reaction, but it's far more sensitive when you're networking. When you're networking, you want to just generally build a relationship, put your name about, and not push too much.
Right, so think about that when you go to your next networking meeting, how you can use some of these NLP techniques we've spoken about. Anything else you want to add to that, Ian?
Yeah. The most important 2 words that are neglected is follow up. If you're going to be talking about rapport, the NLP process of state and rapport doesn't it apply only to the networking evening, the cocktail evening, the Chamber of Commerce seminar or whatever. It applies after that's over. So you're probably going to phone them up. And I would say there's an old tip, which I don't know if you use it as well, Frank, about the name card is a banana. Yeah, and it'll go off like a banana. So if it's 3 or 4 days late, it might not be looking so good anymore.
So absolutely the biggest thing, Ian, is follow up. If you've got those cards, they already know you, the rapport is there. Follow up, I would say, even within 2 days.
Yeah, I would say 2 days is about right. And by the way, NLP is about how, it's not about what. It doesn't really matter what your reason is for the phone call. I've done it where I've just said, just a quick, and I say, hello, Fred, or whatever the guy's called. I say, hi, Fred, it's Ian. Yeah, we met the other night, just a quick courtesy call to say, yeah, thanks for the conversation. It was nice meeting you. Don't have any immediate reason to keep in touch at the moment, but just wanted to let you know that it was nice to meet you, and just leave it at that. Absolutely.
What I've done in the past as well is I phoned them. If I can see it could be a good relationship, I just say, hi, Ian, this is Frank. We met at the networking meeting. Could I pop around and have a cup of coffee and see if there's any mutually agreeable things that we could look at? Now, I might go and meet that client, and they're never going to become a potential client of mine, but we develop a relationship.
Yep.
They give me referrals, I give them referrals, and it's a win-win, although they've never become a client.
Well, this is something that a lot of salespeople get wrong, is they're so focused on getting prospects converted into clients, they forget the total goldmine of converting prospects into referral sources. I mean, if I said to you, Frank, I'm going to introduce you to a guy who's never going to buy from you in a million years, but he knows a lot of people, and he's going to generate, 100, 200 clients for you. Would you want to meet him?
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. But it's something that people don't often get. By the way, a little tip additionally to what you said is if you say, let's meet up and I'm a good one, and it's really counter-logical as to why this works so well, is say, in 4 days' time, I'm just in your area. How about I pop in? But instead of saying, let's meet for mutual benefit, say, you're in the whatever, accountancy business. I know a few people who might be useful contacts for you. Don't know for sure, but how about I pop round for a cup of tea, and maybe if I can put any business your way, I will, as opposed to mutual business.
Absolutely, because then they're in the frame of mind, he's here to help me, he's not here to sell me something.
Yeah.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And remember, if you'd like to book me to speak at your next conference or do some sales training, either in person or via Zoom remotely, please drop me an email, frank@frankfurness.com. Also, please take a look at my website, frankfurness.com, and take a look at some of my courses on productivitycenter.com. Remember also to connect with me on all of the social media channels. They're all under Frank Furness, especially LinkedIn, where I'm almost up to 30,000, and every day I have some great new ideas and tips on sales, marketing, speaking, and anything that will make you money. Hey, this is Frank. See you in the next episode.